Okay, we're live.
All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Super Fantasy Bros podcast. And now, as the season's dying down, playoffs should be starting soon in most leagues, at least in the next couple of weeks here. So we are definitely going to be testing out some new segments over the next couple of weeks. We got another new one at the end of the podcast today, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But also, Trace McSorley season just happened. I'm sure we all are coming from watching that Steelers-Ravens game. Q, is Trace McSorley the truth?
Lamar Jackson should be afraid about his position next year. I don't hear any Lamar Jackson TikToks.
You're right. He is not as TikTok famous.
And he's the same
as
type
Trace
of quarterback, just white.
If they were as TikTok famous as the Steelers, they would have won.
Very
True. The Steelers are all over my For You page.
But they all got COVID.
Yeah, the Ravens all have COVID. All right. Anyways, let's get into the podcast. So we're going to do a little bit of Calm or Chaos, a little bit of Trust or Bust, and then go through our weekly previews. So let's start it off. Russell Wilson, 230 yards passing and only one touchdown for 16 fantasy points. He averaged 36 points per game for the first 7 games, but over the last 4, he's only averaging 18.75, roughly half of what he was averaging. Is this Calm or Chaos?
I think you got to stay calm on Russ.
Yeah, he has the weapons.
Easily.
He's just been doing what he had to do, just enough to win the game. He was getting sacked a lot, I think, on Monday night. But yeah, you're staying calm on him.
I mean, coming into this season, we knew the Seahawks to be a run-first team. So, I mean, them first 7 games, like Sean said, they were letting Russ cook. And I'm not against that, but they were just getting back to the way that they have been for the past few years.
Yeah, they were definitely getting a lot of running in, especially against the Eagles, even a tough run defense. They were trying to get even Carlos Hyde involved. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I think Russell Wilson's fine. You're starting him in the playoffs. I mean, he's got the Giants, then the Jets, and Washington on his next 3. So
juicy. Now I need to make the playoffs.
The entire NFC East, basically.
And the Jets, which is they could be in the NFC East with how bad they are. All right, let's get into the next one here. Ezekiel Elliott, 10 carries for 32 yards, 1 catch for 7 yards, and a fumble.
Back to garbage. Chaos.
Poo-poo.
Absolute chaos.
Yeah, this is madness.
Yeah, this has to be chaos on Zeke. No doubt about it. I mean, I expected a lot more, especially with Andy Dalton back against Washington. That has not been that great. But they got absolutely embarrassed, and Zeke destroyed your fantasy hopes if you started him this week like I did. Knocked me out of the playoffs, to say the least. But anyways, yeah, it's chaos on Zeke. I would not be mad at you if you benched him next week at Baltimore.
Yeah.
Let me review his last
matchup
6
dependent.
games.
Go
In
ahead.
PPR, he had 11, 5, 8, 8, 19, and 2. 1 touchdown.
19
last
is
6
real.
games.
Dookie.
19 reeled everyone back in for that one game.
Yeah, and he said, you thought, dummy.
Reeled me back in, that's for
Bishop
sure.
Bowl, reel it in.
I mean, me and Sean were discussing earlier. I was like, imagine saying last year that you would be debating on starting Nyheim Hines over Ezekiel Elliott. Like, that's unheard of.
You'd be out of the league.
Yeah, didn't make any sense. The loss of Dak definitely hurt Zeke. So anyone that was saying before that Zeke was carrying Dak, it seems like it's the other way around at this point. It is a nightmare situation for Zeke, and I definitely wouldn't be afraid to bench him. I'm probably only starting him in favorable matchups, which is like 1 left in the season at Cincy. So
I wouldn't even say that one carries the other. I think they both just need each other on the field together to have any sort
Well,
of
I don't know.
success.
We've never really seen Dak without Zeke.
yeah, well, I mean, we have for like a very little bit, but that was when he was suspended. He's never missed game due to injury.
Yeah. And he wasn't even suspended last year.
Yeah, it was a little while ago. All right, let's get into Alvin Kamara. 11 carries for 54 yards and 1 catch for -2 yards. Alvin
You
Kamara-
wish that was 11 catches.
Yeah, you wish. Somebody else did get 11 catches. We'll get into him soon. But Alvin Kamara,
see.
6 fantasy points. Is this
Damn
chaos?
you, Taysom Hill.
Ugh.
Taysom Hill effect.
Yeah, as long as Taysom Hill's in there, I'm nervous about Kamara.
Because they were winning the game for a while. Well, Latavius Murray pretty much took over that
Yeah,
game.
he did. I think he had like 23 fantasy points
Yeah,
in
he had a couple
PPR.
touchdowns.
Yep.
Yeah, Latavius Murray could definitely start somewhere else. I definitely think
Mhm.
he's still got that talent. I mean, we saw him as a viable fantasy running back on the Raiders, and they weren't even good back then. So, yeah, I mean, Alvin Kamara is making me nervous. I'm going to stay calm, though. I mean, he still does so much, and he's still such an electric player that any play he can really take to the end zone. But you got to be nervous. He's not getting any
Yeah.
passing work. So,
You'll never like. There's no one that you're gonna bench him for. I don't even care how bad he's doing, but you are worried a little bit.
yeah, one catch in the last 2 games just scares you. Hopefully, at Atlanta, they're able to get him more involved and back to what he's used to doing.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Cooper Kupp had 2 catches for 41 yards, only 6 fantasy points on 5 targets. He's been pretty hit or miss as of late. Is this calm or chaos on Cooper Kupp?
He used up all his points in the previous week.
Don't
Him
say
and
that.
Robert Woods.
I need him next week.
Oh, that was bad.
I think you got to stay calm on Cooper Kupp. I mean, at times that whole entire Rams offense has looked up and down, but I mean, aside from Robert Woods, I think Cooper Kupp is second in line for those targets from Jared Goff. So
Yeah.
at any week that Rams offense can explode like we saw 2 weeks ago. So
And last time they played the 49ers, Cooper Kupp only had 4 points. So I guess it's just something 49ers have their number.
Richard
they beat
Sherman
them.
has his number.
Yeah. And they were more injured. The 49ers defense was more injured that game. So I don't know. They just
Yeah, I'm staying calm on Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's going to be a little hit or miss with Jared Goff at quarterback. So I think you can definitely keep rolling him out there. I would still trust him for now.
For sure.
Last one here for Calm or Chaos. Darren Waller, 4 catches for 23 yards for 6 fantasy points. He has pretty much fallen from that elite tight end status over the past couple weeks. Is this Calm or Chaos on Waller?
I don't know if I want to take anything from this game. It's just a weird game. All Derek Carr 0. I don't know what Josh Jacobs did, but I don't know. I guess I mean just like again, tight ends are scarce, so you're gonna start with what you have.
Yeah. There's no way in hell you're benching
you're just
Darren Waller.
As long as you don't have Travis Kelce, don't expect your tight end to get Travis Kelce numbers. Just hope for 5 or more points.
Pretty much. Yeah, and Waller's definitely got more upside than anybody else. So definitely stay calm on Waller.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I know I can name a few that are more upside than him.
Robert
Well,
Tonyan.
Rob
He's
Gun- 2 Robs.
Well, I mean, Waller, he's still got a lot of upside. Let's say that. Let's leave it as a top 5 tight end
Yeah,
most weeks.
Easily. Top 3 most weeks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Very few tight ends have more upside than Waller right now.
He's a
You're
leading
saying the
receiving
same
option on
thing.
his team.
You're just saying the same thing with different words now.
All right.
I took it down a notch. Like
But
obviously,
Would you rather
Kelce-
have Gronk, who has 8 million other different weapons on his team, or Darren Waller, who he's the main target for Derek Carr?
As of right now, I'd still rather have Waller, but it's close.
I'd rather have Waller as well. Volume is king.
Sorry, Q.
Well, I wasn't against that. I was just saying.
All right.
Well, you're hinting at it.
No.
Don't act like you weren't. All right, let's get into trust or bust. Let's move on from tight end talk here. Austin Eckler, 14 carries for 44 yards in his return, but also had 11 catches for 85 yards. Alvin Kamara wishes he had that last week.
Yep.
So, is Austin Eckler back to fully trusting in your lineup right now?
How can you
back.
not trust those numbers?
Easily. Come on. That's what
Herbert-
he gets paid to do.
Herbert, Eckler, and Keenan Allen are one deadly trio.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are looking good. I mean, they're looking good for the future. Obviously, their playoff hopes are pretty much
Yeah.
dead and gone this year, but
Yeah.
this offense looks like fantasy goodness for the remainder of the
Greatness.
season and next week. I mean, remainder of the season and next season. So they got New England and they have Atlanta in week 14. They're going to be thriving in the playoffs if you have any of them. So
Yeah.
start Austin Eckler. Trust
Most
him.
people drafted Austin Eckler as their RB1. I mean, his first week coming back off an injury, he's put up RB1 numbers. So
Right.
there's no reason for you not to trust him.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Kenyon Drake. Is Kenyon Drake really back? 22 carries for 78
Sean
yards.
loves saying catches.
78 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had 3 catches for 15 yards. So Kenyon Drake actually has 7 catches in the last 2 games, which in the first, I think 10 games or
Yeah,
so,
like 10 games.
he had 8 catches total. So he has nearly doubled his catch total in the last 2 weeks.
Maybe a
Are you
sign for
trusting
things to
Kenyon
come.
Drake?
He's got 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks.
I was about to say that.
It's the trust is
I
going
don't
up,
know.
but it's
Yeah.
not at trust level yet.
Yeah, it's
But it's
hard.
going.
It's hard to plateau on that trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how he does this week against the Rams defense, who have been playing really solid. And also, they might have to rely on him a little bit more with Kyler Murray's shoulder kind of bothering him. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, Kenyon Drake, I'm still trusting him right now. I think he's worth a start, even in these tight situations, just because of the upside and the chance of him falling into the end zone.
Definitely.
I'm gonna just say it's about time Gators suffered a fucking injury.
And he's still playing through it, so like it's not even a real injury yet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Devontae Parker, 8 catches for 119 yards on 14 targets. Can you trust Devontae Parker fully right now?
For sure.
You trust
That was
him
against
and
the Jets, though.
It was
I
against the
trust
Jets.
him. He's good.
you trust him, and then you trust him more if Fitz plays one more game because Tua is still like questionable for this week, but he's been playing better with Fitzpatrick.
100%. I definitely agree. I think Fitzpatrick has definitely helped elevate Devontae Parker. We'll talk about Fitzmagic in a little bit as well. But I do think you can trust Devontae Parker as a flex option moving forward. Even if Tua ends up as the quarterback, I still think he's got a little bit of upside. He's still the best pass catcher on that team.
Yes,
Jarvis Landry, 8 catches for 143 yards and 1 touchdown.
You knew it was
Can you
coming.
trust Jarvis Landry back in your fantasy lineups?
Sean was so hyped to say that.
So
Alright.
hype.
Let's just.
But
let
no,
Sean-
you cannot trust him.
No. Let Sean take this.
All right, go ahead, Sean. Are you starting him this week?
100%.
Well, what's it matter to him? What's it matter to Sean? This
Doesn't
week?
matter to me anyway. Actually, I'm starting him in another league, so that I'm still in the
You
playoffs.
just hope that the Browns are playing in a nice weather game where, well, as long as there's not wind or rain, Jarvis.
The last 3 games, well, OBJ got hurt, and then they played at Cincinnati where OBJ got hurt, and then they played Las Vegas where he had 4 catches for 52 yards and 11 targets, but it was like the wind bowl. And then the next game was another wind bowl where it was 40-mile-per-hour winds, and nobody had any passing yards in the game. Even Deshaun Watson had an awful game. And then they played the Eagles
In
where
the
he was
rain.
covered by Darius Slay in the rain. So he had 3 awful matchups and a bye week over the past 4 weeks where you just didn't remember that he existed. Finally gets a good matchup with Jacksonville and goes off. I think he's going to get the volume if they're able to throw the ball, depending on the weather. So I think at Tennessee, he's still going to get at least 8 targets and he's going to be involved. I think he's worth a flex spot if you have him.
7, 9, 9, 5, and 4. Numbers out.
Well,
Yeah, emails.
Flex option at best.
weather has a huge impact on the whole Browns offense, aside from the run game, obviously. But let's move
Not
on
the
from
first
that.
8 weeks or
Well,
9
yeah,
weeks.
That was when OBJ was still there, and it was. I think
They
Jarvis
were just
better
throwing
without
to
OBJ.
each other.
They were.
Yeah, exactly. All right, last one here is Rob Gronkowski, 6 catches for 106 yards. Can you trust Rob Gronkowski as a top tier tight end at this point?
You do.
Are you done
From-
worrying?
From previous podcasts, it seems like we've been trusting him for a little while now.
You just
Well, he
feel
was
good.
on Calmer Chaos last
Yeah.
week.
You feel
Well,
good that like he's putting up
Russell
points.
Wilson was on Commer K.
Right. DK Metcalf has been on Calmer Chaos.
You
Well,
like that he's still
prior to this past week, he did have 2 fantasy games with less than 5 points in the last 3 weeks. So some people might be a little bit nervous. I say you can trust Gronk at this point.
he's still finding ways to get points with all these players, so you feel somewhat good that he can produce. Because when Brady struggles, I'm sure he's just looking for Gronk, something easy once in a while.
He's a safety blanket.
Yeah, I agree. Stinks that they're on a bye this week for any Bucks owners, but plug him back in for the playoffs. He's worth it. All right, let's get into today's sponsor, the Thrive Fantasy app for iOS and Android. Thrive Fantasy app is a sports app for player props, game props, and daily fantasy sports. So if you download the Thrive Fantasy app today, use our promo code SUPERFB, that's SUPERFB, you will get your deposit matched up to $50 with a minimum of $20 deposited. So if you deposit $20, getting $20 right there for free. If you deposit $50, you're getting 50 for free. You can have $100 to play with to try and win thousands of dollars that are in contests every single week for football. So go check out this up and coming Thrive Fantasy app today.
Scary money don't make no money.
And I know that some of these viewers are out of the playoffs, so
Yeah, go make some money elsewhere.
Go take a shot. Take a shot. Win that fantasy bread back that you lost. All right. So, gods, we're getting into the game previews. So, you know what that means. Hit us with the pick standings, where we stand.
Fallen.
all I gotta say is I'm not alone.
He
At the
was no
bottom.
longer alone in last because we're tied for it.
Damn.
We both
from
have-
first to worst.
From first to worst.
In
Then-
2 weeks.
Didn't it happen to Sean in 1 week?
Yeah, it did.
He did. He had the worst week that week.
Not worse anymore, though.
Yeah. I got super cute. It didn't work out. But
It's all right. You're still cute.
me and Q were tied with 110. Sean has 112. Matt, a nice big leap with 115.
Wow. Matt's 3 picks
Champ
ahead of
is
me.
here.
5 picks ahead of me and Q.
Wow. Matt, you might be running away with it.
Big dog.
Still got a handful of weeks left here, though. So I'm coming for you.
I'm gonna grasp them.
Us.
Grasp the weeks, the handful.
Yeah, Q, hold on tight. All right. Teams we have on a bye this week are the Panthers and the Bucks. So kind of weird that you're having that heading into the playoffs for most leagues. Unfortunate for any DJ Moore or
Yeah,
pretty
DJ
much
Moore,
any of
first
the
player.
whole Bucks offense. Well,
And
he's the most,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers owners.
and McCaffrey coming
Not
back.
not
next
Chris
week,
McCaffrey,
hopefully.
DJ Moore.
Okay, well he didn't play last week, so he wasn't top of mind. Anyways,
He would never be, even if he was playing, especially with you.
I love McCaffrey. He carried my whole squad in 2019. Carried me to the playoffs single-handedly. All right, let's get into the first matchup. Since we don't have Thursday Night Football, we'll start with the Saints at the Falcons. All right, so this week we're going to do a little bit different. We're just going to do 1 point for each team and kind of talk a little bit more about that specific point. So for the Saints, Michael Thomas, 9 points again last week. Where would you put him in terms of being like still a wide receiver 1? Is he a wide receiver 2? What do you think about Michael Thomas right now?
I had him ranked 16th this week. I remember Gator after that last week. He's like, and Michael Thomas is back, and then he does this. So like, you're
As
still go.
Go ahead. No, you already started. I'm not gonna cut you off.
As long as Taysom Hill's the quarterback, you're just like, I mean, you're playing him regardless, but you just don't know what you're gonna get out of him.
Yeah. Q took the words right out of my mouth. As long as Taysom Hill is a quarterback, I'd put him no higher than a wide receiver 2. Just only because you know what he's capable of. I mean, he did have that one good game last week with Taysom Hill. So it's definitely possible, but probably not.
And like, how long is Drew Brees out?
It's a good question.
A couple more weeks.
You know, I thought that he broke like almost all of his ribs, but then I found out that people.
Well, I
have,
mean,
like,
he had
20
like a collapsed lung.
They had
so.
like 24 ribs.
Yeah, he broke 11 of them. So
I'm
I
pretty
guess
I thought
sure
I thought you only had like 15 ribs at most.
I thought you had 12, 6 on each.
I
side.
thought it was 12. I thought it was 15, but he still only has like has half of his ribs.
Maybe
Imagine
there's-
breaking that many. That's disgusting.
yeah.
Why don't
so-
you like internally bleed and die?
Well, he could have. I mean, he punctured a lung or collapsed. it.
Collapsed it.
Yeah.
It fell face
So-
first into the end zone.
yeah,
Lung
that,
first.
yeah, that stinks for Drew Brees. I'm not sure when he's coming back. But if he does come back, obviously that boosts Michael Thomas up a little bit. I still have him as a low end wide receiver 1 in my book for the time being. He did have a huge game against Atlanta, and then they played Denver without a quarterback. So obviously you don't have to throw the ball at all in that game to win. Philip Lindsay and Kendall Hinton were pretty much awful playing quarterback. So I think
Phillip
he'll be
Lindsay
fine
played
at Atlanta
quarterback?
next week. Yeah, he took a couple snaps from
Should have been
quarterback
Royce.
as well. So
What
It was
the
weird.
Fuck.
I think they completed 1 pass to Noah Fant for the whole game. 1 pass, 1 completion, and 2 picks. I think the quarterback threw. It was awful.
Not bad.
Awful for the
You can't blame him. Would you
No.
do any better?
maybe. No.
You
Nate
need
Peterman
to-
might have done better.
He need to be shotgun 20 yards down.
You
from
know
the
who would have
center.
done better?
Who?
Colin Kaepernick.
Very true. Very true. But I don't think they necessarily wanted to not start a quarterback. COVID kind of impacted them there. But Colin Kaepernick should be picked up by somebody. I mean, some of these backup quarterbacks are scrubs.
God awful.
Not Trace McSorley though.
Brandon Allen for the Bengals right now. Blech.
Scrub.
Scrub a dub dub.
On the Falcons side of the ball, can you trust Matt Ryan at all heading into the fantasy playoffs right now?
You want Julio healthy.
Yeah,
Even then,
thought-
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Even then, I don't know. He has 3 games this year without a single touchdown, or without passing touchdowns.
yeah, that's scary.
That's pretty bad.
That's like a third of the games.
Sounds
Yeah.
like Cam.
And he's had some big games. Like he has a handful of games. He has 4 games above 28, but other than that, he has no game above 20. So he's a risky start, to say the least. I'm
Boomer
not-
bust quarterback.
Yeah, he's kind of a boomer bust quarterback. I would agree with that. I mean, they do have a couple of matchups where they're definitely gonna have to throw the ball. New Orleans again this upcoming week, they're gonna have to throw, even though they struggled against them in the last game. The Chargers and at Kansas City in the fantasy chip. If you make it that far with Matt Ryan, and
Good
Tampa
luck.
Bay.
If you
So-
make it that far with Matt Ryan and go to the chip, you have to start Matt
You
Ryan.
have the best team ever.
Yeah, you got to start Matt Ryan at that point. Yeah, but I'm not feeling too confident. I would be nervous with him as my only quarterback right now. And I think that's pretty much, unless, like you said, with Julio back, I feel a little bit more confident. All right, let's pick this game. Saints at the Falcons. Who you got?
Saints.
I'm taking the Saints. I took the
Taking-
Falcons last week, and I don't think they can do it back to back.
I'm taking the Falcons.
Let's go, Matt. Let's go, Matt.
I'm taking the Falcons.
I'm taking
baby.
the Falcons.
Taysom
Uh,
Hill at quarterback is a SHIT show.
Why
So
did you spell show?
You beat the Falcons 2 weeks
I
ago.
was gonna say sugar honey iced tea, but my thought process was too slow.
It's okay. You're a little drunk.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, can we talk about Young Hoku real quick?
Young Wei. That dude is a beast.
Did I not thank him last week? Came
Yeah,
in,
you did
dropped
thank him.
21.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
21,
is
21,
unreal.
21.
He is definitely a good kicker.
Highest scoring NFL player.
Great analysis, Sean.
He
Yeah,
kicks
there's
good
not much
balls.
analysis I have for kickers. So,
He kicks balls far and through the uprights.
Good at it.
and he's good at it. Can't
One of the
forget that.
best at it.
All right, Browns at the Titans. Is this the Nick Chubb show moving forward with Kareem being an afterthought, or do you think Kareem gets more involved as the game's going?
I think Chubb's return against Philly, like being so good, like definitely created some separation between him and Hunt. This week I have Chubb 9 spots ahead of Hunt at 10 and 19. I still think Hunt will be involved, but I just think Chubb came back very strong.
I think game script plays a big role in both of their involvement. So, because clearly, if the Browns are up big and they just want to run the ball, they're going to throw Chubb out there. But if they're playing from behind, they're going to throw Kareem out there to throw him the ball, get him involved in the passing game, and get some yards.
I agree. I think the Jags obviously were a very favorable matchup for Nick Chubb heading into it. And if Kareem Hunt's going to get anywhere between 10 to 12 touches a game, I still think he's definitely worth a start. He's got the explosiveness to make things happen. He had 10 carries last game. Actually, this was the first time he hadn't had a catch since week 4. So you expect him to still stay involved in the passing game at Tennessee this week. So I still think he's going to be involved in the offense. I don't think it's just Nick Chubb moving forward, but Nick Chubb is definitely a step above Kareem right now. On the other side of the ball, with the Titans, with Tannehill's upcoming schedule, is he the ideal fantasy quarterback for the playoffs?
And what is that?
I'm pretty sure I mentioned this a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I said somebody to trade for was Ryan Tannehill because of his playoff schedule.
Yeah, so he's got the Browns this week, and then he's at Jacksonville, and then home against Detroit, and then at Green Bay in the chip.
That's juicy.
It's very
That's
juicy.
real juicy.
Green
And if
Bay,
you play
he's
week
gonna have to-
17, he's got Houston too. So
Green Bay, you're gonna have to throw the ball. The other two defenses don't have a scary secondary whatsoever. So Ryan Tannehill, if you have him on your team, you feel good starting him throughout the playoffs.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah, I think he's definitely a top 10 quarterback for the next few weeks here. Feel free to start Tannehill if you were looking for somebody. He's still out there in a lot of leagues, shockingly, too. I think he's only owned in 56% of leagues. So if you're looking for a quarterback to pick up, Tannehill is worth a look.
And start Derrick Henry. He's pretty good too.
Oh, yeah.
He's all right. And AJ Brown, he's decent.
AJ
He can
Brown
return
must
onside
start.
kicks for touchdowns. I guess
Don't
he's
ever
just
think
a
AJ Brown.
special teams guy.
No, he's just decent.
All right, pick this one. Who you got? Browns at the Titans. This one should be good.
Titans.
Titans.
Sean?
Browns. Got to make some ground up here.
You
I'm
said
taking
the
winning this one.
Browns?
I'm taking
You
the
thought
Titans.
the Colts were gonna beat the Titans. You think the Browns are gonna beat them?
Colts did beat the Titans last time I picked it.
last time.
Last time
second-
I picked
the
it
second
was
to last time.
week.
3 weeks ago.
All right, well, you gotta say last time and mean last time.
All right. Yes. I did. I should not have picked the Colts last week. No doubt about it. But I do think the Browns will definitely at least keep it competitive. All right. Next game here, Lions at the Bears. Let's start on Detroit side of the ball. This is kind of an ugly game. Is DeAndre Swift a good play coming off injury against the Bears?
Nah.
Nah. Bears have one of the top 5 run defenses in the league. And coming off an injury, that's not the type of matchup you're looking for in your running back. So, I mean, you're definitely still starting him, but you got to temper expectations on DeAndre Swift as long as he's still coming back off injuries, facing a good defense. I mean, it's just tough to really trust him at that point.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I definitely think it's tough to trust DeAndre Swift this week. But if you have to start him, I wouldn't be against it. He has shown that has a pretty solid floor with this pass catching game involvement.
There you go. Sound it out, Sean.
Let's move on to
Syllables.
the Bears. The Bears running back, is David Montgomery truly a top 15 play for the playoffs?
His volume, and now he seems to be putting some work together with the volume that he's getting. He had his best game of the season on Sunday night, maybe the best game of his career. He had the longest run of his career, 56 yards. But we always talk about his volume, but like he seems to be doing some stuff with it. So I think that could make him a valuable piece going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and his schedule is juicy. I mentioned it, like Matt said, a couple weeks ago. David Montgomery is one to go get. At Green Bay, he just destroyed them. Now he's got Detroit next week, Houston at Minnesota, and Jacksonville for his playoff schedule. So he should be fine. You should fire him up. The volume's going to be there. The skills might not always be there, but he's still going to get you a solid amount of points. I think he's top 15 for sure.
Might benefit from Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
See, that's why these viewers got to listen to us every week, because we could have got you to the playoffs and then we could have had you set in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. Dave Montgomery, lock him in. Let's pick this one. Lions at the Bears.
Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears still have a
game.
great
I hate this
defense.
game. Can I pick Mitch
gotta
Trubisky
go
to win a
Bears.
game?
I got to go Bears. They
Yeah, I'm
just have
taking
a
the
better
Bears, but I don't
overall
feel good
team.
about it.
The
Taking
broom.
the Bears.
Get the
Sweet.
broom.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears. I don't feel good about it, though. Mitch Trubisky is bad.
I'm
Stafford's bad.
Stafford is bad. I hate Stafford. Never drafting Stafford again.
You didn't draft Stafford.
Never having Stafford on my team again. I drafted him in another week. All right, Bengals at the Dolphins. This one's kind of a snooze fest, but let's start on Cincinnati side of the ball. Can we still trust Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins with Brandon Allen at the helm moving forward?
Well, T. Higgins had the better game. He
Yeah.
had 15 points. He had 44 yards and a touchdown. So I guess you trust him more because with the one game that you have as evidence. But
I hate going off of one game sample sizes.
yeah,
You got to give it at least 2-3 weeks to see who the quarterback gets comfortable with, gets adjusted to, who he has the most chemistry with on that team. And I mean, like Q said this week, it definitely was T. Higgins, but I don't doubt Tyler Boyd coming back and not being as good as he was with Joe Burrow in there, because they were the leading team in the league in passing, but definitely a lot better than what he was this week with, I believe he had like 4 points.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. At Miami this week, and then they have Dallas and Houston in the finals. So if you have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, they have some favorable matchups. You just hope Brandon Allen can get them the ball. Only 136 yards, but they are still going to have to throw. They're going to have to try and keep up in these games. So I would not be scared to start them, but you're definitely downgrading them still a little bit. So you're probably still rolling out Tyler Boyd. If you have a better option, maybe bench T. Higgins, but I still like both of them as of right now. For the Dolphins, is Ryan Fitzpatrick the better quarterback in terms of fantasy football for this team moving forward?
Yep.
If you own like the more popular guys like Gesicki or Devontae Parker, you've seen that they had better games with Fitzpatrick rather than Tua, who seems to be spreading the ball around. Actually, I see him. It seems like he throws the ball to Grant more than the big guys.
Yeah, Tua is definitely interesting. I mean, they kind of move the ball in a weird way when he's at the helm. He hasn't really blown up for any of these games aside from that pretty good Cardinals game. So he's not throwing the ball too much, and he's also running it, and they're also running it successfully when he's on the field. So I definitely think Fitzpatrick's better for pass catching on this team. But I don't think Tua is necessarily the worst quarterback in terms of football. But
Not
for
a
fantasy
huge
purposes,
downgrade.
He also could be a
you want
viable
Fitzmagic.
He could be a viable like streamer if you have Brady on a bye this week.
Yeah, I was
If,
gonna
if
say.
Fitzpatrick plays.
I was gonna
Facts.
say going back to like we're talking about Matt Ryan. I think I might start Fitz over Matt Ryan.
That's not bad.
That's not
It's
bad.
not
I mean,
horrible.
You
The
just
Saints have a
got to
good
remember.
defense.
You just got to remember in terms of like the rest of the season, Fitzpatrick can dump on you any week. He feels like dumping
Hey,
on you.
I'm not saying get rid of Matt Ryan. I'm just week. Fitz plays the Bengals.
Yeah, definitely plug in Fitz if you need a quarterback this week. I'm with you on that one. Let's pick this one. Bengals at the Dolphins. I am taking Miami.
I think we're getting the
Dolphins.
broom.
Fins up.
Fins up. Yeah, Dolphins got to win that game. Bengals almost beat the Giants though.
That's because they lost Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
The Giants suck.
it was still close.
Everyone sucks.
NFC East sucks. Jaguars at the Vikings. Is Mike Glennon better for this offense over Jake Luton?
Are either really good for this offense?
That's a great fucking point, Q. Because the answer is no.
I mean, I don't know how to value either of them.
Yeah, the Browns
mean-
secondary has not been good, so you can't base everything off of this. But at Minnesota, Tennessee, he's got some matchups where they're gonna have to throw. But I don't think he's that much better than Luton
A
was.
good thing you can get out of this is that James Robinson has been solid regardless of who the quarterback is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. You should definitely feel confident with James Robinson. Beware his playoff schedule, though. A little scary. Week 15 and 16 if you're in the playoffs at Baltimore and then against Chicago at home. So those are some good run defenses, but he's been pretty much matchup proof. So
Yeah.
you're still rolling him out there. But yeah, Mike Glennon, still scary.
Which is crazy to say because he was like he wasn't really drafted in any fantasy leagues, and now
Yeah.
he's matchup.
I mean, he went undrafted in
Yeah.
the NFL. He went undrafted in fantasy.
Yeah, crazy that James Robinson is that good, but he is solid. Keep starting him. For the Vikings, are you worried at all about Dalvin Cook heading into the playoffs after another brief injury and poor performance?
As long as he's healthy, you're confident he's going to be good.
You can't doubt Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I will never
Actually,
doubt that man.
Bench him for the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
definitely
that is-
do not.
I'm not even trying to be biased, but like just like we said with Alvin Kamara, you can't bench him. Like
Mhm.
he's too good. You got to rely on him. You start your studs. You took him in the first round for a reason. He's the number 2 running back in fantasy for a reason. I mean, the explosiveness is there regardless of a little ankle tweak or whatever it was. So I mean, I think Dalvin Cook should be just fine.
I agree. And he gets the Jaguars this week. So
Yeah,
do not bench Dalvin Cook. Let him feast.
manja.
All right, let's pick this one. Jaguars at the Vikings.
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 Get the broom out.
Nah, I'm taking the Vikings too.
I was about to say, Sean, you're so dumb.
Never picking Mike Glennon to win an NFL game. Please stop.
I don't know. It's hard to pick Kirk Cousins to win an NFL game,
Yeah.
too.
I know I picked against him last week. They should have lost. I'm still
Shoulda,
mad
woulda,
about it.
coulda.
Still mad about it. Panthers choke so bad.
Sorry, bud.
Colts at the Texans.
That's a good John.
So this should be another good divisional matchup here. Are you confident with Jonathan Taylor coming back off of the COVID list, plugging him back into your lineup?
No. But if I had him, I probably would still start him.
Yeah, you
Because
might
the
be stuck
Texans
with him.
don't have a great. Who'd they play on? Nah, I don't think their run D is that good.
They played the
Lions.
Yeah, Lions. And Swift was out. So
Carry on did well.
he did okay. AP, I think, had the better game.
Yeah, the Texans are actually bottom 3 in terms of run defense. So the Panthers' run offense is just that incompetent that they could not
Yeah.
get that many points. But yeah, I would probably start Jonathan Taylor if I could, and I would even consider starting Naheem Hines as well. I think both are going to be involved. Jordan Wilkins seems to be the odd man out in those three. And Jonathan Taylor had a really solid game before getting put on this COVID list. So
Yeah,
plug
but
him back
before
in.
that, his last 3 weeks, he had 4, 8, and 5.
Yeah,
And
so it's
that's
definitely a
when he
risk.
was on Calmer Chaos every single week.
Chaos.
He was on Chaos a
Chaos.
lot of weeks in a row.
Every
Yeah,
week.
but then he got a favorable matchup with Green Bay and feasted. I think Houston's so bad that I think any round. Not, we saw Kerryon Johnson get 11 points. I think Taylor can get some points if he gets
All
the
right,
work.
I hope they get him the ball.
I hope so too. I think him and Naheem Hines are worth a start. On the other side of the ball, Will Fuller, rest in peace, suspended.
That
Start.
explains why he was so healthy all season.
He
My
actually said
guy.
he was kind of tricked or something by somebody
Yeah, I don't think it was
Bamboozled.
his fault.
He got bambooed.
similar like Golden
Bean
Tate.
boozled.
Same thing happened to Golden Tate, like I think last year, 2 years ago, where he was like, I have to miss 4 games. Somebody told me the
I
substance
got
was fine.
schemed.
Whatever.
You got to do
Um,
your research before you take anything, though.
Yeah.
You know
agreed.
this league.
So if it was, whatever. Either way, no Will Fuller for the next 6 games, which means where does this put Brandon Cooks for you guys? Does this help or hurt him? I mean, he was still pretty solid, but is the only option better for him, or do you think he's going to get hurt a little bit by the cornerback matchups?
No, I think
The
he'll be-
thing, I don't think he is the only option.
This is
with
what I was
Will
going to ask.
Fuller out.
Who is the next? Who would you say is the next option? Kiki.
Randall
Kiki.
Cobb.
Randall
I
Cobb's on IR, isn't he?
Yeah,
Is he?
yeah.
Yeah.
Then Kiki or Akins.
Kiki and Akins. It's kind of ugly now. Kiki
20
is
plus
back.
every week.
He's back in fantasy relevancy, though. He was relevant a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he had like one huge game, like 16 catches.
Yeah, he was a flex option.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think this actually helps Brandon Cooks a little bit. I mean, being the
Yeah.
number 1 option and pretty much the best
That
pass
just,
catcher
like,
on this offense.
Almost
Plug him in.
doubles his volume. So
Yeah. We've seen what happens when a wide receiver with Deshaun Watson gets volume. They score fantasy points.
Okay, so yeah, in 2018, he had 11 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. That was like his career game.
Yeah. And he was banged up since pretty much that game on. Like he was always hurt. But he is back. He is playing. So I do think he's worth a risky flex. But
Oh, I
Brandon
lied.
Cooks, lock him in.
He had 2 games with 11 catches and 100 yards, and they're both against the Colts. And look who he's playing this week.
Ooh, Q is putting up.
Kiki.
Kiki Kutse
I'm
breakout.
sorry,
Lock it in.
Kiki over Adam Thielen.
Lock it in. He is a flex option this week. Start him. All right, let's pick this
No,
one.
I'm not even kidding. Start Kiki.
That's
Get
wild.
cute. This is the week to get cute.
At QT.
Let's pick this one.
Ooh.
Colts at the Texans. Who do you got?
Texans.
I'm taking
Huh?
the Colts.
Colts.
Hold on.
I
I'm
don't
taking the
know.
Colts.
I don't know what Q's answer was.
I
He
am
said
taking the Colts.
Colts. Oh,
You're
Colts.
taking who?
I'm taking the Colts.
The Indianapolis Colts.
I
it's a
hate
boom?
betting against D-Watt, though.
T.
I'm
Odds is
still
a broom.
confused on what Q is doing.
Q said
Uh,
Texans
yeah,
and then said
Okay.
Colts.
Okay.
Q, who do you want?
So who's his pick?
The Texans. I mean the Colts. The Colts. Colts.
Yo, you pick a team.
Colts.
He said one of them is gonna win. I'll pick
Yes.
both.
Broom
Tie.
is out.
All right, the broom is out. We're all taking the Colts. Let's
I
figure
hope
that
they
out.
tie, so everyone's wrong.
I hope
they don't.
everyone ties, so everything's wrong.
I'm cool with a tie. I'll still be in the lead.
I need the lead. All right, Raiders at the Jets. So can you trust this Raiders passing offense to bounce back after only 6 points against the Falcons defense?
I think
It
you
was-
have to against the Jets.
It was
The
working
Jets.
before this week.
It was the Falcons though.
But this
Weren't
is a
they
whole
the worst
different level.
secondary?
This is the Jets. We're talking about the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
the
even
Jets
an
are so
NFL
bad.
team.
Yeah, I think that game was a little fluky. I mean, all of those fumbles for Derek Carr was very weird. 0 fantasy points for a quarterback absolutely sucks.
You don't think that they're embarrassed about that? They're gonna
Yeah,
they're gonna come out
Yeah.
swinging. They have to.
they were moving on to like 2 weeks ahead in their minds. They were like, look, we're going to move past this Falcons game and this Jets game. We're focused on Indianapolis in week 12, and it bit them in the ass. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think the Raiders will bounce back. I think Carr is worth another start this week at the Jets. Even though he got you 0 last week, you might not feel that good,
I
but
was
I think
low
he's
on
worth a
him.
look.
Over Matt Ryan?
No,
Who's
I'm
Matt,
sorry,
Matt,
Matt
I
Ryan.
think he's over Matt Ryan. Did Matt Ryan had 5 against the Saints the last time?
Let me take a look. 5 points. Touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm starting Derek Carr at the Jets over Matt Ryan this week.
For sure.
I'd probably start Matt Ryan.
Bold.
I'm
Use
starting
bold.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, I think the Raiders will be fine. Don't overstress it. They're playing the Jets. They'll bounce back and get right this week. On the other side of the ball, are Brashad Perryman and Denzel Mims moving into startable flex territory with Crowder becoming unstartable?
I don't have Mims ranked, but I do have Perryman over Crowder. I just think there's some sort of chemistry between Flacco and Perryman.
Perryman's just got way more big playability. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a touchdown in each of the last 2 games before this week. And even this week, he had another average 20 yards per catch. So Perryman gets open down the field. He racks up fantasy points. And Crowder, you need a lot more volume. And it just has not been there with both of them back.
It's crazy how consistent he was coming up to this point. Crowder.
Because there was no Mims and there was no Perryman. So he was pretty much the only option aside from Braxton Berrios
Fuck him.
and Chris Hogan. I think they were starting. Denzel Mims does have 3 straight games with 8 targets and 10 fantasy points. So he's getting you 10. He doesn't have that much upside. He has not found the end zone, but he's worth a look as well. If you're desperate this week at flex, if you were heavy on the Bucks or the Panthers or something. All right, let's pick this one. Raiders at the Jets. Who you got? I'm
Broom.
taking the Raiders.
Broom, broom, broom.
Would you bet?
Bring
your
out
bank
the
ac-
broom.
Would you bet your bank account that the Jets fire Gaze after this season?
Yes,
What-
I would.
Like they're
I
definitely.
hope so.
You would definitely somewhat worry if you actually did that bet. Just like what if like Trevor's coming in? We'll give him a chance with Trevor. That would be terrible. But
Oh, the Jets are drafting that.
if
Girl
the
kicker.
Jets have the first pick, then Trevor's gonna stay one more year. at
the
Clemson.
Eagles should draft the girl kicker.
She's probably better than Jake. Now Jake's been pretty solid.
Well, Jake will just be the long distance guy.
She'll kick the extra points.
And yeah,
I'm down. All right, Giants at the Seahawks. So we got a lot of mismatches this week, as we've
Come
seen with all the
on.
brooms.
Let's get through this one.
But let's start on the Giants. If Daniel Jones misses time, can you still trust this passing offense with Colt McCoy?
No.
All I
still
can
have
say is
Shepard.
Colt McCoy.
He's decent.
He had
He can
5
get the job done.
rushes for 7 yards. He's got potential.
He's got
Shepard-
wheels.
Shepard still finished with 13 points, and that's with Colt McCoy in for I don't know how long he was playing.
I think it was like the 3rd quarter when they came in. So
So
it
he was
wasn't
still getting targets, but
a lot. He only
Ingram?
threw 10 passes.
Ingram had a good game.
Yeah, I would say you can still trust him with Colt McCoy. We've seen him fill in the past and be okay enough to a point where he can get the ball to his weapons. So
Maybe more value for Gallman.
I think Shepard and Ingram might feel more confident. I think, yeah, Gallman might get more involved. Slayton, on the other hand,
Goodbye.
he's still boomer bust at best. I don't know if Colt McCoy's going to be able to sling it to him down the field. So
Probably.
Giants analysis. Seahawks. Can you trust Tyler Lockett in the playoffs?
All
So
I can-
go ahead.
It doesn't matter if you trust him or not. You're not going to bench Tyler Lockett.
I'm getting to the point where I'm considering it.
It's
Since-
it's been
since-
scary. It's
Since
been
week
scary.
4,
No.
in games not against the Cardinals, he's averaging 7 fantasy points a game.
Who was he covered by last week or on
I
Monday?
can't-
Because
7
can't.
fantasy points a game since week 4. This isn't like in the last couple weeks he
It
struggled.
doesn't matter who
This has
he
been
was
all
covered by.
season aside from the Cardinals and the first 3 games.
I'm just
DK
saying,
has asserted himself as that number 1 option on that team.
He's still being involved. He's still getting targets, but it's still hit or miss too. He's got in his last since week 4, like I said, he has 4 games with 5 or less targets. So 5
Yeah,
or
but
4.
if he goes off, he can single-handedly.
I know you're probably starting him, but if you have another option where you're like, look, I need guaranteed points this week and I can't bet on this big play guy, I would not be mad about benching Tyler Lockett at this point.
Can you give me an
Who-
example of that?
An example of all right. So you would need consistent solid points, and it would be somebody that you would already have. I need to pull up a list here. I don't have.
Yeah,
I don't have
that's-
my
yeah,
friends
it's
ready.
hard. It's hard to say off top.
Yeah, off the top of my head, that one's tough. It's definitely tough to bench what's Tyler Lockett in general. But if you have somebody that you've been playing, let's say Robbie Anderson or even Devontae Parker over the past couple of weeks with Fitzpatrick, I wouldn't be mad if you put Devontae Parker in over him.
Chase
I couldn't do that.
Chase Claypool was. I'm trying to think
Chase
of player-
Claypool, too.
Teams that could have like both of them at the same time. Like, would you start Chase Claypool over Tyler Lockett?
I would consider it. I'm not saying I would automatically
Okay,
do
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but like if you have Tyler Lockett, you're frustrated right now.
Debo?
100%. He's had 2 good games since week 4. 2 really good games. He had an 11-point game as well, but he's had like 5, 8, 7, 5. Like he has been super inconsistent. He's just scaring me a little bit. But he has obviously the upside to put up 53 points in a week, so you're probably starting him.
Yeah, I agree.
He's
I'm not
boomer
saying that
bust
he's.
with me
I'm
right
not
now.
saying that he's not scary, but like
Yeah, you're starting. You're just.
I wouldn't be able to sit him. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, he was really consistent in the past, but with DK establishing himself, the inconsistencies are showing.
Bring back Doug Baldwin.
All right, let's pick this game. Giants at the Seahawks. We're all taking the Seahawks. I
Get the
assume.
broom.
Get the broom.
And this is a
Get
good
the
week to
broom.
make some nice parlays.
Yeah, it is.
Now for this next game,
Hit me up, T guys. I got you.
Rams at the Cardinals. This one's going to be tough. Obviously, divisional matchup.
Here we go. Here's a good game.
Starting on the Rams side of the ball, can any of the Rams' 3 running backs break out for the playoffs?
No.
No.
Cam Akers is something.
It looks
I
like
guess.
I think Cam Akers has the most upside right now. I mean, we've seen Henderson getting the volume, and it's just hasn't been there. And Akers has had more big play ability.
He rose from the dead.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. I'm not trusting any of them. I think Akers is worth an ad if someone was dropped. If he was dropped in your league, throw on your bench. Maybe he ends up taking back over this backfield like you'd hoped when you drafted him. But yeah, no, I'm not trusting any Rams running backs. For the Cardinals, are you worried at all about Kyler Murray's shoulder injury and the inconsistency with DeAndre Hopkins lately?
I have D-Hop ranked 8th this week. That's just because of, I guess, these receivers have better matchups, but like you're gonna start D-Hop. Like there's not a guy that you're gonna start over him. Just like maybe like how we just said with Tyler Lockett, like there could be a guy, like you're not starting anyone else over D-Hop. But you are a little bit concerned about the injury, I guess. It seems to still be affecting Kyler on Sunday.
Yeah, we definitely. I want to see how he practices this week. But it obviously affected him this week. He had 23 fantasy points in every single game until this week, where he had 7, and he did not score a touchdown. Obviously, there's a couple things that went wrong. I mean, a couple guys dropped passes, dropped a touchdown. Christian Kirk did, and they ran in 2 touchdowns, which has not happened a lot this season.
This helps Drake, I guess. The injury helps Drake.
It's helping Kenyon Drake, but it's hurting Kyler Murray. But I think Kyler Murray will be fine. I'm not worried about it. I think the shoulder
He's
injury.
only human.
Yeah, and I think with his rushing ability, he's going to have a solid floor. So don't worry about Kyler Murray. Pick this one. Rams at the Cardinals. Who you got?
Cardinals.
Rams.
That's not bad pick, but
Cardinals.
Goff's just too inconsistent.
Taking the Rams.
Let's go, T guys. You're my best friend this week.
We got every game that we picked together wrong last week.
This week we change it.
Okay.
All right. Patriots at the Chargers. Starting on the Patriots side of the ball, are there any Patriots you would feel confident starting heading into the playoffs at all?
Izzo next.
No.
Just Izzo. Let's move on. For the Chargers, no. I'm not confident starting any Patriots players.
Yes.
Not Izzo either.
That
I
was
would
a
avoid.
joke.
I would
All
avoid
right.
all of them. Aside from maybe Damian Harris if you're feeling cute, but Sony Michelle could be back soon as well. So
Is James White back?
no, he was so touchdown dependent too. He scored touchdowns, but he
Yeah.
also did nothing else. He had 13 fantasy points and 12 of the points were touchdowns. So maybe, but I don't trust it right now. He did have a better week than week before, 6 catches, but I don't see Cam doing that often.
No.
So yeah, I would avoid all Patriots right now. They're too inconsistent, too untrustworthy. On the other side of the ball, if Kalen Ballage comes back, will he still have a role with Austin Eckler taking over this past week?
No chance.
I think you'll see
chance.
like a play or
Not a
two,
shot.
Balaj, because Balaj did do something when he was playing. Like you'll see him in a play or two, but like this is like Eckler's job.
Yeah, no.
Balaj is not startable.
I agree with you guys. I don't think he's going to be startable, but I do think Ballage is going to be mixed in. We did see the first couple weeks, even with Eckler healthy, Josh Kelly was getting a lot of work. He had 23 carries in one game. He was getting at least anywhere between 8 to 12 carries for those first few games. So if Kalen Ballage comes back and is fully healthy, I think he could be in line for some maybe
Like
goal
a
line
vulture.
work.
Yeah, he'd be
Like a vulture. We saw Josh Kelly vultured Austin Eckler this week. He had 7 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown. So
Get him out of here.
I think it's going to be Kalen Ballage will still have a little bit of value. Definitely hold on to him if you're an Eckler owner. But other than that, I don't think he's going to be necessarily startable. All right, let's pick this game. Patriots at the Chargers. I am taking the Chargers.
My pick is the Chargers.
I'm taking Chargers.
Easily.
But like you can't be a little worried. Like
I'm definitely worried. The Patriots have won some games lately, which is
and
scary.
The Chargers just like to lose.
I won't be surprised if the Patriots win, but I can never root for them. But I got to take the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers.
Guys, unfortunately, I got to leave real quick. Hold on.
All right.
I thought he was kidding. All right, Matt. Eagles at the Packers.
I wonder what he's doing.
I don't want to know. Are you nervous at all about the lack of Miles Sanders touches? Matt, you own Miles Sanders. What do you think?
Of course he leads now. I still have been ranked 9th this week. But yes, you are a little concerned because Doug doesn't know what he's doing calling plays. So like if he decides to start running the ball more with Miles Sanders, he's going to be productive. But he needs to also improve on his catching ability because he has dropped a lot of balls as well. Maybe not a lot, but he's dropped some passes that have been thrown his way.
Yeah, he should have had a couple more catches his past game, but only 8 touches, definitely concerning, and has not had more than 20 carries in a game since week 2. And you just want him to get more of that volume, and you hope at Green Bay, which is a team where pretty much everyone on the league has run against them, that Doug Peterson says, I'm going to give the ball to Miles Sanders, the guy that's probably going to help us get this done, take some pressure off Carson Wentz. But Doug isn't the brightest bulb in the box this season.
I don't get it. I don't get why he's not getting the touches. He's
Miles
good.
either.
He's very good. And there's
the touchdowns. He's getting vultured for like Corey Clement. Boston Scott had like a 60-yard run. So I'm still starting Miles Sanders, no doubt.
Miles Sanders is 4th in the league in rushes or yards per carry and 28th in the league in carries per game.
Yeah.
So like just imagine if he was in the top 10 in carries per game.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
It makes no sense.
Like he's averaging so many yards per carry. I know obviously he only had 15 yards this past game, but he only got 6 carries. We just got to abandon the run game in a close game where we could have kept running the ball. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders should be fine moving forward, but I am nervous about the inconsistency in the play calling. I don't think it's on Miles Sanders' talent. It's more on the Eagles' offense and play calling right now.
It's on the coaching talent.
But we shall see. I still think Miles Sanders is definitely a top 15 play every week. Keep starting him.
Agreed.
For the
Wait, should we ask Matt?
Yeah, I guess we got to ask Matt. Yo, Matt, welcome back.
Headset is not on yet.
I
Right
know.
now.
I think you can hear me, though.
I
Matt?
hear you. I'm back. I'm sorry for that.
You
Give
missed the Miles Sanders segment, so I want to hear about your take since you own Miles Sanders. Are you nervous at all?
Yes,
About Miles Sanders.
I am nervous, very much so about Miles Sanders because that entire Eagles offense looks like shit. And Miles Sanders is only getting like, 10 to 15 touches at best. So, I mean, I'm definitely panicking on Miles Sanders.
Yeah, you got to hope he gets a lot of work against the Packers this week, but I still think you're going to start him as a top 15 running back.
They need to use him
upside.
more. I mean, he's one of the best offensive weapons that they have. So,
One of the only ones that they have.
that is also true.
Free Miles Sanders.
Free Miles Sanders, please.
Free the boobies.
Free the boobies. All
I
right.
heart boobies.
For the Packers, is Allen Lazard a flex option and back into flex consideration after 12 points this past week?
Yes, considering who will probably be covering.
Yeah, I agree. I think Allen Lazard is definitely back into that flex conversation. I mean, we saw him get involved and the second wide receiver against the Eagles. It always
Except
goes
for
off.
Tyler Lockett, he didn't go off.
Yeah, he was. Nickel Roby-Coleman actually stepped up a little bit, covering him in the slot.
Good job.
But Maddox, horrible. Lazard should be fine. He should definitely get some work. And I think even moving forward, he's worth a look as a flex option as long as he's getting healthier and getting more snaps coming back from that injury. We saw what he could do in the beginning of the season. So
Yes,
worth a look. Let's pick this one. Eagles, the Packers. Who do you got? Eagles beat the Packers at Lambeau last season.
They cooked them last year, and then everybody was worried about the Packers. Then they
Yeah,
made
but I am taking the Packers.
yeah, I'm taking the Packers. They need to call up Jordan Howard. This is the game that he did amazing last year. 3
Miles
touchdowns.
Sanders, feed him.
Feed him.
If we feed Miles Sanders, if the Eagles feed Miles Sanders, Eagles might win this game, but they're not going to. So I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, they're not going to feed him, so they're not
Matt?
going to win.
Not going to feed him enough.
I'm taking the Packers. I
You got-
bleed green, not Packers green, but we suck.
I'll whatever. I'll take
Ready
the
for the
Eagles.
Packers?
I'll take the
Let's
Eagles.
go.
Ooh, we get
They need this is the game where they like this is I feel like break for where someone's getting
We're
fired.
already broken.
I know.
Somebody's definitely
Someone-
getting fired.
Like if we get I don't even want to talk about it. Just
I saw something was like, is this the lowest of the low for the Eagles? And like, no, it could get lower if they keep losing.
oh, it could go lower.
And
it
we
could
have a lot of
go
tough
lower.
matchups, so it's going to go lower.
I mean, we could be the Sixers during the process. So
Ugh.
We could. All right. Broncos at the Chiefs. Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, or would you rather start neither heading into the fantasy playoffs?
I'd rather go
start
with that running
neither.
back.
yeah, stay away from them.
I'd
It might
rather
hurt.
I'd rather just not start a running back than start.
It might hurt less taking a hit than starting either of them in a game.
Yeah, I agree. Melvin Gordon did have a pretty good game 2 weeks ago or against Miami, week 11. He had 18 fantasy points, but you cannot rely on that. In between those games, he had 2, 4, and 3. So
And I'm
I'm
pretty
avoiding
sure
this backfield.
Philip Lindsay dropped a big donut like
Yeah, so I'm avoiding this backfield. Do not start any Broncos running backs unless you are absolutely desperate and you don't have any other running backs. On the other side of the ball, we pretty much know the Chiefs' offense at this point, but Sammy Watkins is back. Is he worth a pickup after getting 4 catches on 7 targets?
He's worth a look.
Yeah, as long as Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback,
Yeah.
who is just, regardless of how many points they're up by, they just bomb the ball every
They
play.
do not
so-
care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I definitely think Sammy Watkins is worth a look. And even if you're desperate, plug him in your flex. Sammy Watkins is pretty solid when he does play. He's obviously inconsistent. This Chiefs offense goes all over the place. They have so many weapons, but he was pretty
He's
solid early
so
this season too. He had 10, I think he averages 10 points on the season, but he has a couple games where he kind of disappeared. So
2, 6, and 7.
yeah, well, 7 this past week,
Yikes.
4 catches for 38 yards, but he did have 7 targets in his first game back. So it's promising.
Good sign.
He's worth a look. I think he's worth a bench spot at least. Pick him up
Yeah,
if he's on the waiver wire.
for sure.
Let's pick this one. Broncos at the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Boom.
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 All right.
Do you want to hear this Schultz bomb real quick? Russ to the Wizards for John Wall and a first.
Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
to the Wizards for John Wall. Interesting. Fantasy basketball season's coming up.
It is.
Keep an eye out. I don't know if we're doing anything.
Bambo.
but- fantasy basketball. Start a league. Let's get back to fantasy football though. Washington football team at the Steelers.
Look, perfect timing. Talking about Washington.
Yeah, Washington football team,
just-
Washington sports. Russell
all suck.
Westbrook at quarterback now for football team. They are benching Alex Smith. No, I'm just kidding. But Antonio Gibson did all the work this past week. Are you worried at all about JD McKissick?
Maybe. I mean, Gibson does seem to be finding himself to be the guy. I mean, he already was kind of the guy, but like he's putting up some good numbers that they may not need to bring in McKissick as like a change of pace back where they could just give it to Gibson all game.
Yeah, I would say I'm staying calm on McKissick right now. I mean, in the games where McKissick has done bad, they played Dallas twice and Cincinnati, and it's games where Washington was actually
Where they were up.
or at least it was very close. So that's where McKissick kind of disappears. But they do have Pittsburgh, San Fran, Seattle, and Carolina up on the next 4 games. And I think all those games are going to be competitive. If not, they're going to be behind. So McKissick should be involed in the passing game. I still think he's
Especially
going to be
this week.
solid.
I think this week McKissick could be involved because we just saw in the game before the podcast the Steelers were not letting the Ravens run the ball.
Yeah. So they're going to have to get the ball in space to McKissick and Gibson. I think they'll both be more relying on the pass catching abilities for the next few weeks. But
I
think
mean, the
McKissic will
Ravens
be fine.
also had 2 of their starting running backs out, so I don't
Gus
think
Edwards.
that
That
really,
wasn't even Gus Edwards. It was like Justice Hill.
Well, yeah, they're both
Oh,
playing.
yeah.
But yeah, Steelers defense obviously has been very good against the run. So it's not a favorable matchup, but in terms of pass catching back, McKissic might be able to get 4 to 5 catches, have a solid floor like he has for most weeks. For the Steelers, can all 3 Steelers wide receivers be relied upon throughout the fantasy playoffs?
Yes.
Si, senor.
And I ranked them Deontay, Johnson, Claypool, and then Juju.
For Juju.
I mean, it's hard to put 1 and 3rd. What, like 2nd and 3rd, I guess, could be. They all pretty much are tied.
They're
for
all
the-
Yeah,
interchangeable.
it's all a toss up.
I think you
Yeah.
could rank them all in the same spot every week and be pretty much right. They're all kind of that wide receiver to high end flex range where they have the upside to drop a 20 bomb on your 20, 30 fantasy points on a team, but they could also get just 10 and be solid flex for you. So
And Ray McLeod.
not Ray McLeod or James Washington. Yeah. Steelers, I think all 3 of their wide receivers are locked in for the playoffs. If you have them, you're still starting them. Pick this game, football team at the Steelers. Who you got?
Steelers.
Steelers.
Steelers. All right.
Boom.
2 more games here. Bills at the 49ers. Which Josh Allen are we going to get for the fantasy playoffs? Are we going to
Hopefully
get?
the
Tell
good one.
me.
MVP Josh Allen.
Are we getting? Are we getting MVP Josh Allen? Matt, are you confirming this?
Yes, I am.
Wow,
All right,
lock it
there you
in.
have
Matt
it.
says it. There, fantasy analysis. But yeah, for real, Josh Allen has had 5 games less than 20 fantasy points, and then 6 games with 29 or more. So he is pretty much the definition of a boomer bust quarterback. He does have some tough matchups at San Fran, then Pittsburgh, at Denver, at New England. All kind of bad weather games as well for those last 2.
You know the weather for those games?
At
He's a
Denver, and at New
meteorite.
England.
That's
In the
Glenn
winter?
Hurricane Schwartz.
And Sean,
There's
with
a
the
high
weather.
chance of snow, but I think Josh Allen will be okay for the playoffs. If you've been rolling out with him for this long, you're not going to find anything better on waivers. Don't get cute. You're going to have to start Josh Allen.
Sean read a farmer's almanac to find out the snow in Buffalo.
I did. Forgot this existed. All right. For the 49ers, is Debo Samuel a must-start wide receiver when fully healthy?
Oh, yes. 11
Mhm.
catches. He's going to be the guy that Mullins looks for with no Kittle.
Yeah. I think Ayuk still has some value. He obviously missed this week again. When they're both healthy, I think they'll both be solid, but I do think Debo has a
I
little bit more
prefer
upside.
Debo.
Debo.
Debo. All right, pick this game. Bills at the Niners. Who you got?
Bills.
Bills.
49ers are creeping up in like the playoffs
Bills.
in the real life.
I'm still
In the
taking the
real life.
Bills. T-Gods?
This is a hard one.
It is a hard one. I thought about the Niners, but I just couldn't see them.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, imagine
winning
rooting for
back-to-back
Nick
weeks.
Mullins. Nick Mullins. Imagine.
Am I
rooting for
really
him.
overthinking it though?
They just beat the Rams on the road. I don't know if they can beat Buffalo in back-to-back weeks.
What Josh Allen are we getting?
Very true.
MVP
The good
Josh
one.
Allen.
Matt already called it.
I called it.
I
Hold me
called
to
it.
it.
All right, Matt. I'll trust you this week.
Trust me every week.
Wow. Okay, Matt. Weirdo.
How is that weird?
Cowboys at the Ravens. Are you benching Ezekiel Elliott? I know we talked about him a little bit earlier until shown otherwise.
For who?
Not unless you have a better option.
Naeem Hines?
I would.
I think I would.
Yeah.
He's playing at Baltimore this week. I think the
Yeah.
only time I'd feel comfortable starting Zeke the rest of the season is at Cincinnati.
Or if he's playing like a college team.
He's got
He's
at
not at a-
Baltimore, San Fran, and Philly for his playoff schedule, and Cincinnati, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's scary. I would not be mad if you benched him for a lot of different people, but
Would you bench
you're
him
probably starting him.
for Gio?
Gio's been struggling,
yeah, nah.
and
All
they
right,
have
how
no
about,
quarterback.
That
Wayne-
offensive line is absolute
If
garbage.
Mixon comes back, I would definitely start Mixon.
Clyde or Zeke?
Clyde.
Easily.
Yeah. On cue. You're better
Oh, I'm
than
just
that.
asking. Wayne Gallman or Zeke?
Gallman.
Gallman.
Gallman's solid.
I didn't
He's
know it was that
nice.
easy.
I'm starting Gallman over
Melvin
Zeke right now.
Gordon or Zeke?
Zeke.
Zeke. Broncos are worse. Yeah, Zeke did have 19 only, not this past week, but the week before. Washington's obviously a good run defense, but he's just making me nervous. Not a big fan of him right now. Moving on to the Ravens side of the ball, are you trusting any of their running backs as an option moving forward with Dobbins and Ingram likely back next week?
No,
No,
that just makes it worse.
That
Yeah.
does make it worse.
It does make it worse, but Dobbins has been pretty good. He had 18 against Tennessee before this upcoming week.
Are you starting him over Zeke?
No, probably not. This week, Zeke plays at Baltimore and Dobbins is home against Dallas. So they're
They are
playing each other.
other.
Dobbins has a lot more upside than Zeke this week. I'd consider it, but I wouldn't feel great about it. It'd be a risk, but Zeke stinks, man.
He does stink.
Good.
So
He stinks good.
Bad.
I wouldn't be against it, but yeah, I feel hard. I have a hard time trusting a Ravens running back right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's pick this one. Cowboys at the Ravens. Who you got? Thursday night football.
Brum,
The
brum.
Ravens. Broom.
Tuesday
broom.
night, you said?
Yeah, Tuesday night football.
Aren't there 2 Monday games? Yeah.
Two Monday
Football.
games?
Wait, what time on Monday?
5 and 8.
o'clock and then 8.
Ah.
Football team at the Steelers are 5. All right, let's get into our final segment here. Players we wish we did not draft this season and what players we missed out on because of this. So we're going back through the draft board and pretty much we're through the fantasy regular season. So it's time. Last week, we were very thankful for a couple players that we drafted, but this week we're going to be very negative. We're not thankful for these players. Q, I will let you start it off here. Player that you wish you did not have to draft this season.
I'm gonna contradict myself just because of I'll explain. But David Montgomery, who I drafted, maybe the 7th round when I could have had Will Fuller. Now I say I contradict myself because now I probably would take David Montgomery and I have Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller's out. But Will Fuller would have helped me throughout the season since I had injuries between Sutton and Galladay. And I definitely could have had a couple more wins with a steady wide receiver 1 in my lineup. So yeah, Montgomery though is very solid right now, and Fuller is suspended.
Yeah. Before Fuller got suspended, I would agree with you there. Fuller would have definitely been a better pick, even though Montgomery's been a decent RB2 this season. All right, T-Gods, who do you regret drafting?
My first round pick number 8. I trusted all the fantasy people, saying Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be dummy good. They wouldn't care if we drafted him first overall. He's going to be so good.
That's
And he
wild. They
averages-
were really saying that.
I
They
know.
were really saying that, and he's averaging 13.1 points a game. And
Is
I
that-
drafted him over Devontae Adams.
Who's
That I
averaging
don't need to
25 points per
explain.
game?
I do not need to explain anything about that. Let's just move on.
I think he's like the one first round pick that you could say that for. Like obviously Zeke, but you didn't expect. Like there was so much hype on Hilaire.
Well,
and then-
Helaire was actually pretty solid until they traded for Le'Veon Bell, and then his volume.
and it's not even that like Le'Veon hasn't done much. It's just somehow he just affected.
Well, yeah, I
Helaire.
mean, since they got Le'Veon, I mean, Helaire has not had more than 14 carries in a game, so Le'Veon's just more involved than whatever his name was. I don't even know who their other backup is off the top of my head.
Darrell
Darrell
Williams.
Yeah, Darrell Williams.
Darrell.
He's still getting touches here
Yeah.
and there, so poor Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right, Matt, I know you're about to get angry. Who'd you draft? Who do you regret missing out on?
Bart, I hope you're watching this right now because it's been haunting me all season. Literally, as I walked into the draft room to go pick my sticker of who I wanted, Bart said he would cross DK Metcalf off of his list. And instead, I took DJ Chark,
The wrong D.
the wrong D. And it haunts me like every night because DK is top 5 in the league right now.
How do you think the Eagles feel?
I can only imagine how they feel, but this is different. This means more.
Yeah, that's a hurt piece, Matt. DJ Chark has been decent. He's been like a flex option. He has not lived up to that potential. He has averaged like 12 points a game, but
He hasn't
Injuries.
been any DK Metcalf.
he has not been a DK Metcalf.
To be fair, I feel like everyone could have said DK. Like everyone in our league, besides
Everyone in most leagues
yeah,
could have said they missed out on DK Metcalf, but I don't think you could have missed as bad as I missed for my wide receiver
oh yeah, you're-
position. So in the 5th round, I decided to draft a legend, T.Y. Hilton, as my wide receiver 3. T.Y. Hilton has been nothing but pure trash this season.
Not
to
this
say the
week.
least.
God awful.
This
So-
week he had 18. He
Yeah, this
scored.
week was his best week
He had
pretty much all
18?
season. Yeah, he had 18 fantasy points, shockingly.
He scored a touchdown.
Yo,
Yeah,
I was
he's-
gonna fucking
his first
start.
touchdown this season. I
Yo.
would know. But yeah, T.Y. Hilton, I decided to draft him. Very big mistake. And I left DJ Chark on the board, who I'd rather had that Matt drafted, but also DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin, all taken within the next 6 picks from when I drafted T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton, I was banking on Phillip Rivers slinging the ball, similar to how he did in the Los Angeles and in San Diego, to Keenan Allen, all that volume. But T.Y. Hilton did not get that volume. Actually, he had a couple of games with a lot of targets, but just did not translate to fantasy goodness. T.Y. Hilton stinks. And I missed the playoffs pretty much. So
So that was his
not
highest
making that mistake again.
performing game since week 5 of last year. And that's only by like 1 or more points.
Yeah, he had his best game
Corner.
before this week was 12, and he had 0 touchdowns all season until week 12. So T.Y. Hilton stunk. Very bad pick. I'm not making that mistake again.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody
But
has those days.
They do.
Yeah, they do. Do we have any questions in the chat before we wrap it up here and get to Q's joke of the week?
Ask away. So Q has more time to think about his joke.
I already have it. The holidays are here. They're all Christmas related going until we get to Christmas.
Somebody,
I'm pretty sure you had one for Halloween and one for Thanksgiving. So
The Halloween one was it wasn't even supposed to be. It just happened to work.
we had a question in chat from I'm Ty Flo. My playoffs start this week. Deshaun Watson versus the Colts or Taysom Hill versus the Falcons. Who would you start?
Watson.
yeah, I gotta go Watson.
He's just too good.
Even without Fuller,
Yeah,
I
that's
still
yeah.
think you got to start Watson.
It makes it a
It's
lot more
matchup.
tough, but you gotta go Watson.
I can't rely on Taysom Hill, especially in the playoffs. I think you got to go Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, imagine depending your playoff career this season on Taysom Hill.
And we had another question from Ethan Fine. He said opinions on Debo for this week with Ayuk back. Still think Debo is definitely startable, no doubt. You can
For
plug him in.
sure. Faux show.
Don't be scared to start Debo. They're going to have to throw in most of their games anyways because their defense is all banged up. But start Debo.
Start
Q,
him.
I think that's it for the questions here, other than Gator mentioning that Allen Robinson has a beautiful playoff schedule.
Wait.
I have a question.
All right, Matt, what's your question?
It's about my team, but I just want to know: do you guys trust Robert Tonyan moving forward? No.
I don't.
I
know.
don't have
Fair.
the.
I don't trust any tight end.
Yeah, pretty much tight ends are a dart throw, and Tunyon the last 2 weeks has hit a bullseye. So against the Eagles linebackers, I'm not against starting him again.
Don't sleep on Alex Singleton.
Stop.
Alex Singleton blitzing, sure. Alex Singleton in coverage, no.
Sean Bradley.
Are you
Bradley's
talking?
still
Are you
not
talking
getting
about
playing
Josh
time?
Adams or Jamal Adams? Why did I say Josh Adams? Like we were talking about the Eagles running backs.
Yeah, Josh Adams does not have a job anymore.
Does
All
he?
right, Q. Hit us with your joke of the week. What do you got for us?
How did Scrooge win the football game?
I don't know. How did Scrooge win the football game, Q?
The ghost of Christmas past.
That was a good one. I liked it.
Sorry, Matt.
No,
7.3 out of 10. That's a good one.
Good one.
Wasn't the best.
that
but
was
a good
pretty
one.
good. I'll give it a 7.6.
Matt was sleeping when you said it. He just took a second.
I'll give it a 7.9.
Ooh,
That was
7.9.
good. It was
That might be the
good.
highest rated
7.6,
joke.
That was good.
That would be the highest rated across the board. 7.6 average.
I'll take it.
Good joke, Q, and good podcast, boys. We will be back next week. I believe we'll most likely be doing 1 episode a week moving forward, unless we think of something else cool to do. Or if you have any suggestions, definitely hit us up on Instagram, social media, whatever you want to see. We will try some new things out over the next couple of weeks, as this is our first season as a podcast. But definitely follow us on social medias if you're not already. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We're everywhere. Look up Super Fantasy Podcast, Super FB Podcast, bunch of different tags. They're all below on the Twitch chat. Check us out. And if
Waiver
you have any-
wire post tomorrow.
Waiver wire post coming out tomorrow with the weird week waiver wire article as well. Smash or Pass will also be out this week. So stay tuned for those on our website. Definitely check that out. Other than that, I think that's a wrap, boys. We'll see you next week. Good luck this week. Peace out.